All right, welcome to the show. How's it going?
Very good, very good. It's 5 p.m. here in Brussels, and to be honest, I before the show I wasn't sure should I grab a coffee or a beer. It's kind
I
of
think
that.
you should grab a beer.
Yeah, maybe afterward if it goes
Well,
well.
when I was in Belgium, I had the best beer. It was ridiculous. Like no hangovers, nothing. It was.
Oh,
I love Brussels.
then you didn't drink enough, Jason.
That's probably that might be it too. Well, tell us who you are, what you do.
Yeah, so my name is Filip Ludovic. I'm a Croatian national, but have been living here in Brussels, Belgium, for 20 years. As perhaps many of your listeners will know, Brussels is sort of the Washington, D.C. of the European Union. So this is where all the European institutions are, and this is where all the laws are being made that impact the lives of nearly 500 million people that are living in the countries that make up the European Union. And that's exactly what our business is about. So basically, I manage a digital communications agency which works with organizations and companies who are trying to get their message across to people sitting in these institutions and making the laws that end up being implemented that in different countries in Europe.
Amazing. How did you get started doing that?
Well, I mean, it's a long story. So I came to Brussels back in 2005, and as before that, I was living in the States, and I came here actually with a two-way ticket. I came here to visit my parents who were living here at that time, and then one thing led to another. For the first 3 years, I was trying to leave, but then I ended up working in the so-called Brussels bubble or the EU bubble, as they call it here, which is basically this ecosystem of European institutions, so European Commission, European Parliament, European Council, on the to name the main ones, and then also thousands of different interest groups that are here to lobby these
Mm.
institutions. And since the only thing I knew how to do at that point was to sell, because while I was a student in the US, the only job I could get was door to door sales. My first job in Brussels was for online media publication. At that time, one of the most, I guess, leading ones called EU Observer. And my job was to sell ads. My job was to sell ads to people, to these interest groups who were trying to influence European institutions. And then over the years, I spent actually quite a few years there. But then I went freelance about 13 years ago, started working as a business development consultant, and then in this arena, EU affairs arena here in Brussels. And then around 2017, I got tired making money for other people, and I started thinking, okay, what can I do that I can apply my skill set, leverage the network that I built over the years, but that actually the money stays with me. And I was exploring different avenues at that time, and I had a lunch with Richard, who ended up being a business partner of mine, who was a very seasoned communicator. So he spent years working as a spokesperson for various institutions, governments, UN agencies, and so on. He was Australian, but with roots also from the Balkans, where I come from. And he was working as a senior consultant with the European Commission at the time, focusing on communications. And he said, "Look, I want to scale what I do, but I would rather die than pick up a phone and call a person and try to sell in my services." And I said, "Well, I mean, that's what I do." And then we looked at the market a bit, and we figured that all of these interest groups that operate in here, when it comes to digital communications, don't really have many agencies that can help them. Because on one hand, you would have traditional lobbying firms, right? So who understand the political context, who can get you a meeting with a member of the parliament or with somebody from the commission, do a nice analysis for you, but they don't really understand how the whole digital communications world works. So you had them on one side. On the other side, you had marketing agencies, like I guess most of the agencies that are in your network, who knew everything when it comes to digital comms and digital marketing, but didn't really understand the political context within which these organizations had to operate in. So what we wanted to do is something just in between. Take the knowledge and understanding of the politics and policy developments that you would expect from a lobbying firm, but then bring the production capacity that you would expect to find with the marketing agency, and then merge these two together and offer this service, which at that time, to be honest, wasn't we went with this hypothesis that people will need something like that. But at that point, you maybe had one or two other players in this very niche market.
So how did you get business at first? Because, it sounds like people probably didn't know what to search for. So were you the one picking up the phone, banging on doors?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, my background is door-to-door sales in the Southern California. So to say
Woo.
I'm not a shy guy when it comes to knocking on doors. Obviously, in this environment, you don't really go knocking on doors because people call the police on you. Uh, but
How many times did that happen? I remember I did door-to-door sales after college for a little
okay.
bit, and we would go into the high rises. And I would always, the only way I could get through it was I would have a competition with the person I'm with to see who could get kicked out first.
Yeah, exactly. I used to get kicked out of hospitals in the LA area because hospitals were great. I used to sell these little heart-shaped pillows, and there was a screwdriver with a light at the bottom, and these sort of things. And
Wait,
hospitals.
hold on, back up. You sold a heart pillow with a screwdriver?
No, these were two products.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like combined. I was like,
Yeah, no,
are you trying
depending
to
who
screw
you
the
were.
heart?
Well, actually, they never thought about it, but it would have been a nice package deal, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's funny.
But anyways, going back to your question. So yeah, as I mentioned, at that point, I was already working in this environment for more than a decade, and I was always in business development roles and also as a consultant prior to that. So obviously, my network at that point of time was quite solid, and my approach to sales was never transactional. I always focused on building relationships, because that's actually what I enjoy. I just enjoy people and being around people. So it came very naturally. And then when we were starting out with the Rice Street, we basically, what I did, I would just call all contacts, all clients, tell them, hey, let's grab a coffee. I'm doing something different now. Perhaps could be of interest for you. And then we got, our first clients, very tiny amounts in the beginning. It was a big,
What'd
big
you
change,
charge for the first one?
500 euros for an infographic.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
500.
yeah. And I remember my business partner Richard at that time. So he was just finishing his work as a consultant with the European Commission, charging crazy daily rates, and we spent hours in the client's office discussing where certain graphics should go. And we went outside. I remember he was smoking a cigarette, and he said, this shit better work out. Well,
Yeah, you probably
luckily,
lost money on that one, but I got you
yeah.
started.
Yeah, exactly. But you know how it goes. You just need case studies in the beginning, you need to show that you know what you're doing, and then slowly we build on that. And for the first 3-4 years, every extra euro we earned, we reinvested in the business. We opened the office in Mostar, where it was our first production team was first there, and then expanded to Belgrade as well. And then step by step, we grew, and now we're a team of nearly 30 people between the three offices.
Well, it's just a reminder to everyone. A lot of times we forget the basics, right? Like we're at a point in the agency, we always go through like lulls or like plateaus.
Yeah,
And we start freaking out going, oh my God, I'm not getting leads. I'm not getting business, right? Like I'm losing clients. But if you think about your story, especially about how you started, you just went to the low hanging fruit, the people you already knew in your network, and was like, hey, let's grab a coffee. I may have something for you. Let's just talk about it.
exactly.
And I
Fantastic.
tell people you should do this every quarter, at least every quarter, looking at the low hanging fruit, people you haven't talked to in a while, your old clients, your old prospects. Like literally make a list right now as you're listening to this, like pause it, make a list, and then start reaching out to people. There's money that is on the table that you're missing out on right now.
Always.
Yeah.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. What's been the biggest pivot that
Mm,
you guys have done over the years?
yeah. That's a very good question. I can't say that there was a point where we pivoted drastically in terms of the services or the type of clients that we serve. But there was a defining moment for the agency at the beginning of 2020. So we just went through a first sort of a scaling moment. So we were at that time, at that January 2020, we hired 3 people. So we were about 6, 7 people at that point. We got an office, proper office, with everything inside. Went to IKEA, bought furniture, spent days screwing things.
Ping
Really,
pong table?
no, 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 not the Silicon Valley.
Get to
Yeah,
work. You're like, get to work, people. No playing.
yeah, exactly. So we ended up really investing quite a lot of money at that point, or reinvesting, and 2 months later, 3 months later, COVID happens, lockdowns, all the contracts that we had that basically, I don't want to say canceled, but people stopped paying just because there was nothing to do. Everything in the pipeline, I mean, just froze. And all of a sudden, we were left with all these fixed expenses, but no revenues. And, the first sort of a knee jerk reaction is fire, cut costs. But since I worked so long in this environment, and a lot of these clients were these trade associations, industry organizations that usually plan their budget a year before. And they have to spend their budget, because if they don't spend their budget, they don't get it the next year. I knew the money was there. So we said, look, let's, at that point, both Richard and myself, we said, okay, look, we don't draw salaries. Luckily, we had wives at that time who were working and
You
who
had sugar
support.
mamas.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. I always say our wives are the biggest investors early on.
There you go.
So luckily we could afford that, and we basically kept the team, invested a lot in marketing. So all of these resources that we had in terms of people, we just invested in marketing, and waited and waited and waited. And I knew that towards the end of the year, people will want to start exploring digital, and especially because they couldn't spend money on events, which majority of them spend money on. I knew that towards the end of the year, people start panicking and start exploring digital formats, digital channels, and so on. And that's actually what ended up happening. And to this day, the Q4 2020 is still our best quarter in terms of new business. And this was the foundation of everything else that came afterwards.
It was a scary time. Like no one knew what was going to happen. And then, a couple months went by and then people were like, hey, I need to spend money on digital.
Exactly.
And then the agencies were just like,
Yeah, I guess we're not the only ones who benefited from that period. But I'm really happy that we didn't panic early on, and that I had a partner. Fortunately, Richard passed away a couple of years later. But I was really lucky to have a business partner at that point of time, who really, that we were aligned on this, and said,
yeah.
okay, let's be patient. Money's there, and eventually will come, and it did.
I think that's one of the hardest things. I know that's a hard thing for me, for patience. Like I even lost a bet with Darby, which I still owe him to get a tattoo on my arm with a little
Oh,
turtle tattoo.
oh,
Yeah, like, yeah, it's just, he's like, dude, you got to be patient. I'm like, that's just not in my nature, man. Like,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah. But then you gotta find something else to do,
that's right.
and then this sort of keeps you busy. If you
How did you
just keep
keep
it
your
away.
How did you keep your team inspired
Oh, they
during
loved
that
it.
time?
finally they didn't have clients telling them what to do. We could do whatever we wanted because we worked on marketing and we did a lot of this, to call it even stupid things, but doesn't matter. Everybody had a chance to express themselves creatively, and I think if you talk to the team and if they look back at this period, because many of them are still around, I think they don't. I think they remember it as a nice period because when a client tells you. You might be the best designer in the world, but the client tells you, "I want red there." It has to be red there, So
Make the logo bigger, get a
exactly.
pixel off. Oh my
Exactly.
gosh, like yes. Yeah. And I learned a lesson in design, especially when I designed in the very early years. Like, never go to a client and be like, "This is my best design ever." It could be your best design ever. It could be the best design that the company's ever done. But if you tell them that, and then they have no clue for design or usability or anything, and they say, "I want red here," I'm like, "Red means danger."
Yeah.
You're screwed. Yeah.
I think our head of art and design would definitely agree with you on that one. But and that's the
Ah,
challenge of running the agency and finding that balance, and working on building that trust with the client that they actually believe you. When you say, red is not a good option here, that they say, okay, they said the red is not an option, so we listen to them, and that takes time. And
yeah.
sometimes it never works. Sometimes you have clients who just you never get there.
Yeah. I remember my designers coming to me. They were like, "Man, like, I don't even want to put our name on this design anymore because the client just totally fucked it."
Look, we have websites that we build that are definitely not on the list of case studies. But
Yeah, you're like, "Man, this is going to be like," and the thing that sucks too is when you start getting bigger clients, like well-known clients, and then you like, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing to show the work," and then they screw it up, and you're like, "God, I don't even want to claim it."
yeah, well, I mean, but and sometimes you have a client. We recently did a project for a client. I mean, the budget was tiny, but they were ready to give us. They said, "You guys know what you're doing. You do whatever you want to do." And we said, you know what? Who cares about the budget? Even if we do this project at loss, we're gonna have a great case study that will be proud to show off. And then you roll with it and say it's about
Yep.
fine. And sometimes you have a client that pays a lot of money, and then you don't even say that you work with this client, because
Yeah,
you sort of,
that's right. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you think would benefit the listeners listening in?
But honestly, I knew you were gonna ask this question because, like I told you, um, your podcast played a very important role in many of the things we've done over the years. When we were just starting out, I was checking YouTube, and one of your videos came up, and this is how.
Much younger Jason.
Yeah, it was the younger Jason, and it wasn't sort of a podcast format. It was more of a kind of a YouTube video style. And so, honestly, I mean, at this point, I think I can just sell the agency and retire. I think since I made it to your podcast, what else is there, So I knew you're going to ask this question, but to be honest, it's very hard to plan to answer to that question because you never know what we're going to talk about. And
Yeah.
to be honest, I mean, I think we covered most of the things, and I think the community that you have of agencies, these are very smart people, capable people. So I'm not sure there's much more I can add here.
Well, perfect. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show, and thanks for listening all over the past couple of years. And for everyone listening, like if you've been listening for years and you want to come on the show, reach out to us. Hit up Darby at agencymastery360.com. And if you ever want to hang out with really amazing agency owners live in person, we're having an event, Elevate, in Phoenix coming up. So everyone go check that out. You can check that out on our website. And until next time, have a swank day. I hope you enjoyed this content. If you want more content like this, make sure you click on the link on the screen or check out your most popular podcast platform where the full episode is there. And until next time, have a swank day. What are you doing? Go check it out. Click on the link. I'll see you soon.